is up, turds, nerds, freaks, and geeks, and all that's in between? It's me, your girl, Daisy Dame, and welcome back to my channel. Today may be one of the most visually pleasing videos I've ever made, so I really hope you enjoy it. Today we're going to discuss some magical trinkets in these categories: most common, unknown, and or very rare. I'll tell you what we're going to discuss in the beginning, but the rest I will timestamp and you can see for yourself what we're going to discuss. So sit down, pipe down, and maybe we'll both learn a little something today. So first, the most common would include the crystal ball, voodoo dolls, candles, wands, and of course, genie lamps. So let's start with the crystal ball and its origins. It is believed that in Britain around the time of 2000 BC, the Celtic tribes were unified by the Druids. They were polytheistic and revered in nature. They played important roles in the Celtic society, as they were priests, philosophers, scientists, teachers, and judges. In the Middle Ages, many divine fortune tellers started to use crystal balls to predict the past, present, and future, and at first they were made of beryl, later replaced with crystal when it was found to be more reflective and translucent. We can even track the crystal ball's whereabouts to the 1500s, where again, similar people like scientists used these practices. Now we're going to take a look at wands, which had come around in about the 1200s. But in the 1800s, 1886 to be exact, the Magic Circle by John William Waterhouse portrays a woman using a wand to create a ritual space. A thin wand, lightweight rod that is held with one hand and is traditionally made of wood, but may also be made of other materials, such as metal, plastic, used for magical purposes and often called the magic wand, rather than simply a wand. Wands are distinct from scepters, you can tell the difference, which have greater thickness and are held differently, and are relatively large with a top ornament upon them. In modern times, wands are usually associated with the stage magic or real magic, but there have been other uses, all stemming from the original meaning as a synonym for rod or verge, a stick that is used for reaching, pointing, drawing in the dirt, and directing other people. It's one of the earliest, simplest tools. For those of you who've followed me for a little bit, you'll know we've talked about the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn and the Magick just recently, so if you've missed that, please check through my videos. They're very recent. But guess what? Wands were introduced into the occult during this time, during the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, which, as mentioned, was in the 1200s. The wand is an idea from the book Honorius, later also associated with the Key of Solomon, which we are going to go much more in depth into very soon. As you may have noticed, the lamp looks like a fantastic home for a genie. These mythological creatures originated with the Djinn, spirits made of fire and air that could be helpful or mischievous. People have been telling stories of the Djinn for over 4,500 years, dude. This is like something like Coco Pelli, okay? It's been around for a long time. Genies, again also called Djinn or genie, are spirits in cultures of the Middle East and Africa. The term genie comes from the Arabic word genie, which referred to an evil spirit that could take shape of an animal or person. It could be found in every kind of non-living thing, even air or fire. Genie or Djinn, as the Arabic word, is Romanized, come from a long line of mythological creatures dating back to 24,000 BC. According to the Quran, God created the Djinn out of the fire and scorching wind. It wasn't until later that humans were made of mud and clay, and clearly the Djinn got the better end of the deal. No source states how much time between the birth of the Djinn and the birth of the humans. They had plenty of time to form their own societies. The Djinn are much more than demons or spirits. They're intelligent. Some are evil, some are good, and some are still somewhere in between. We can pretty much count on them being tricksters in one form or another. So as a general rule, do not go out hoping to meet the Djinn. And while discussing the Djinn, we must discuss the Djinn and the Djinn rings. As stated, they may seem very similar, but the Djinn and their rings are a bit different. This is of Arabic lore, the type of interfering spirit, often demon-like, but not equivalent to the demon, as are the Greek daemons. The Djinn are self-propagating and could be either good or evil. They possess supernatural powers that can be conjured up in magic rituals and rites to perform various tasks and services. They appear to be wish-granting genies in many of the Arabic folklores, such as those in the book of 1001 Nights. In pre-Islamic lore, the Djinn are malicious and born of smokeless fire and are not immortal. They live with other supernatural beings in the Kahf, a mythical range of emerald mountains that encircles the earth. They like to roam the deserts and the wilderness, and they are usually invisible, but have the power to shape-shift into any form, to be an insect, or any other animal or human. Now, I spoke of King Solomon, and how we would talk more about this. Oh yes, we are just going to touch the very surface of King Solomon and the magic ring to control the Djinn, but I will take a whole nother video to address King Solomon and the seals. Best believe that, so stick around. King Solomon himself had a ring to protect himself from the Djinn. The ring was set with a gem, probably a diamond, that had a living force of its own. With the ring, Solomon branded their necks of the Djinn as his slaves. One story tells of a jealous Djinn, sometimes identified as Asmodeus. He stole the ring while Solomon bathed in the river of Jordan. Well, the Djinn seated himself at Solomon's throne, and he imprisoned him in a bottle. According to another story, Solomon took the Djinn to his crystal-paved palace, where they sat at the tables made of iron. The Quran tells how the king made them work at building palaces, making carpets and ponds and statues and gardens. Whenever Solomon wanted to travel to faraway places, the Djinn carried him there upon their backs. Solomon forced the Djinn to build the temple of Jerusalem and all the city as well. Now that we've talked a bit about these things, I bet you feel a little nervous inside, right? But don't worry, there's ways to protect ourselves from the Djinn. They were on Earth before human beings, but it is surely unknown for how long. By some accounts, they were created 2,000 years before Adam and Eve and are equal to angels in stature. Their ruler, Iblis, also called Shaitan, refused to worship Adam and so was cast out of heaven along with his followers. Iblis became the equivalent of the devil, and the followers all became demons. Iblis' throne is in the sea. Who else's throne is in the sea? How interesting are these connections, guys? My mind is blown. I don't know if about you, but this is connecting a lot of dots for me that I did not know. As humans do, Djinn have free will and are able to understand good and evil. The Quran states that the purpose of their creation is the same of that as humans, which is to worship God. They are responsible for their actions and will be judged at the last judgment. It is said that hell will be filled with the Djinn and humans together. Conflicting stories about the Djinn abound. Similar conflicting stories about angels and demons. According to some accounts, there are 3 different types of Djinn. Those who are able to fly, they create heavy light, tall and thin, and are shapeshifters with very flexible bodies. The second are those who reside in a given area and cannot travel out of that area. They must live in their homes. Number 3, those that can manifest as snakes, scorpions, creeping animals, or even dogs, especially black dogs, and cats. A cat should never be chased away early in the morning or late at night, lest it be a shape-shifting Djinn waiting to take its revenge. I want to take a moment to let you know, you may think of the Djinn as you will. You can consider them fallen angels. I feel as though the same story is repeated in so many different ways of telling it. We are all hearing the same things, right? There's a pattern repeating, and we must pay attention to those repeating factors. Did you notice any? If you did, leave them down in the comments down below. Lastly, of the Djinn, Muhammad warned people to cover their utensils, close their doors, and keep their children close to them at night, as the Djinn spread out at night and take things. He also warned people to put out their lights, as the Djinn could drag away the wicks and start a fire. However, they will not open a locked door, untie a knot, or uncover a vessel. If people find a snake in their home, they should call it out for these 3 days before killing it. If the snake were to shapeshift, it will eventually leave. Next, of course, we're going to look at Hawaiian tiki magic. This one's more uncommon, and I felt it was very interesting because I hadn't heard as much about this. But oddly enough, almost a decade ago, I was given one of these tikis. It had a face on it, and I wasn't sure the meaning, so I looked it up. It was Ku, the god of war. Soon I got rid of Ku and got Lono, which was the god of agriculture and peace. And lo and behold, my home became more calm. Now, I wasn't one to believe in Hawaiian tiki spells or magic, but I found it odd that Ku was given to me so long ago as my life was in a very terrible state. Interesting indeed. They also have Cain, the god of creation, sunlight, forests, and fresh water. The god of Kanala, or god Kanala, the sea god of the sea realm. Ancient Hawaiians kept their gods close, using many creative forms of communication. Tikis were created as a medium of communication and interaction. Through continued communication with all powerful deities, the Hawaiian people were sure to follow the right path of appeasement. All Hawaiian people were said to have descended from the lineage of the gods. And it was the job of Alinu, of the high chiefs, to make sure that everything was in societal balance, and the ultimate respect was paid to the gods through the many avenues. The Alinu were considered direct descendants of the gods and carried great responsibility. In addition to the tiki images, the higher spirits and ruling deities were paid homage. Every action undertaken in the ancient Hawaiian society, from walrus-tooth pendants, feathered helmets, feathered cloaks worn by kings, to animal sacrifices and religious practices. I'm excited to finally be making some of these connections, and I hope that you guys are too. Don't worry, there's going to be a second part to this video because I can't simply fit all these trinkets in one. We've only made it through the middle, like we've only gotten to the middle of this. So don't worry, as stated, there will be another video finishing with the uncommon to most rare. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please leave your positive and or constructive criticism down below. I appreciate it more than you know. And as I stated before, there are some really big things in the wings, and I hope you guys are prepared because we about to blow up. I love you guys so much. Thank you for sticking with me. It means the world to me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.